connotation. It's really funny because there are folks that I have heard say that Medicare is not an entitlement program because of the word entitlement. People get like, they're like, the fact that you would imply that they're feeling entitled to that money makes them like, oh, I'm not entitled, but literally that's the definition of entitled. And that's okay because Medicare and Social Security are entitlement programs. You are entitled to that money because you paid into that system. Therefore, you expect to get that money back on the back end. So I find it really funny when people just think of the word entitlement as negative all the time. And so they really push back. They're like, no, it's not an entitlement program. I'm owed that money, which is funny because that's the exact definition of what entitled is that you are owed that money. And that's okay to say that. If you are legitimately entitled to something, then yeah. It's where people talk about the sense of entitlement that's usually where the negative connotation. So anyway, it's just kind of a funny thing I've noticed. So today we're going to be able to basically, it's the same thing we've been doing. We're going to compute certain percentages of certain things that get taken out of your paychecks. This is no different. It's just a different formula. So it says, why does the United States have programs such as Social Security and Medicare? It says, Charles Marx is thankful for Social Security and Medicare benefits. Medicare helps to pay his grandmother's medical bill. So usually Social Security is the one that usually gets the most like fame, I guess, or gets the most press in terms of like, you get money for retirement. And it's just a paycheck you get from the government. Medicare is also something that you have money taken out for, which is also money that you get back in retirement. However, that money is used specifically for healthcare. So you get some money taken out for Social Security, some money is taken out for Medicare. Oftentimes they are combined on the deductions on your paycheck, and it's a line that says FICA. Sometimes they're separated out, sometimes they're put together, depends on who you work for and how they decide to put that in. So those are requirements. Those are legal requirements that have to be taken out of your paycheck. You cannot opt out of Social Security and you cannot opt out of Medicare. If you are working here, that money gets taken out for those things. So the Federal Insurance Contributions Act, FICA, requires employees to deduct a % of your income as taxes for Social Security to pay for retirement and disability benefits, and Medicare, which provides medical insurance. The Social Security tax rate is 6.2%. I don't know if that's still what it is or not. I'll have to look that up. We're going to use this number. Regardless, it might have gone up a little bit since 2010. I'm not entirely sure, but maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. The Social Security is 6.2% and is paid, here we go, on the first $97,500 of income. That also might have changed since 2010. What that means is if you make more than $97,500 a year, you are only taxed at that 6.2% up to the first $97,500 of income that you make. If you make $97,500 or less, then all of your income is taxed at that 6.2% rate for Medicare. Not Medicare, Social Security. The Medicare tax is 1.45% with no limit on your earnings. So if you make, $2 million, it's 1.45% of $2 million. If you make $2 million, it's 6.2% of $97,500 of that $2 million, and no more than that. The employer must contribute an amount that equals your contribution. The federal government uses Social Security to pay for retirement and disability benefits, and Medicare provides health insurance for those who are 65 years. So the amount of tax withheld, just like we've been doing before, is this is a little bit different because it's your gross pay times the tax rate. It is not taxable income. So this time we don't have to worry about deducting exemptions or dependents or withholdings or whatever you want to call those. We're just going straight gross pay multiplied by the tax rate. So this is a much simpler calculation. It's also not a tiered system, not a graduated system of taxes like we talked about with graduated state income tax. It's just straight tax. So here we go. Riley Henderson's gross biweekly. How many times a year? 26. Yep. So biweekly. These words keep coming back over and over and over. It was less than 1.5. That's where we learned them. The notes from 1.5 on salary has all the definitions of what these things mean, but this is 26 pay periods. So Riley Henderson's gross biweekly pay as a manufacturing parts inspector is $728. His earnings to date for the year total $26,208. What amount does his employer deduct from his pay this pay period for Social Security? What are his Medicare taxes? What is the total deduction? His earnings to date are less than $97,500. So because he's earned less than $97,500, that means that every single pay period so far this year, he's been taxed at the 6.2 for Social Security and the 1.45 for Medicare. And we're asking, we're talking about this pay period. And it says biweekly pay is $728. So this is his pay per pay period, and we're talking about taxes per pay period. So there's no conversions of time that we have to worry about on this one either. So his gross pay is $728. So we're going to take 728, and we're talking about Social Security. What are we going to multiply this by? And actually, this is probably a good thing to highlight here. Up at the top here, Social Security tax rate is 6.2%. Actually, I'm going to highlight this whole sentence. And is paid on the first $97,500 of income, because if it goes above $97,500, then you max out. You can't go above that. Medicare, 1.45 with no limit on your earnings. So those are probably a couple of good things to highlight, because those two percentages are the two big things we're going to be using today and moving forward with Social Security and Medicare. So if you have a highlighter, underline, whatever you want to do with that, or if you just want to write it off to the side, 6.2% for Social Security, 1.45% for Medicare, however you want to make that work. All right. So 728 times what for Social Security? 0.062. Good. All right. That will give us the amount of money deducted in the pay period for Social Security. So 728 times 0.062. How much money is that going to be? Round to the nearest cent. $45.14. Yeah, the 0.136, the 6 will round the 3 up to a 4. So $45.14 for Social Security. All right. Next, we're going to multiply the gross pay, 728. We're talking about the Medicare tax now. What do we multiply that one by? So we're always going to translate these percentages into decimals. So for Social Security, that'll be 0.062. And for Medicare, that'll be 0.0145. So those will be the decimals that we're going to use for those. So 0.062 for Social Security, 0.0145 for Medicare. So 728 times 0.0145 is $10.56. Good. All right, so then the total deduction for FICA, the combination of Social Security and Medicare. FICA is just those two things added together. So add those two together, 4514 and 1056. So we're looking at a total of, looks like $55.70. All right. Any questions about that? That's basically what we're doing today. So very short lesson. Let's go ahead and turn the page. Anybody need more time here? All right, flip it over. I mean, that's literally all we're doing today. So you've got two more questions. I want you to do both these on your own. Find the amount withheld for each of them and total. So Social Security, Medicare, total. The reason why the earnings to date are there just has to do with that 97,500. If they're below 97,500, you just stick with the 6.2%. If it's above 92,500, got to do some slight other calculations, but those do not show up here. So go ahead and work on those two for a minute. Correct. Because once it goes over 97,500, then Social Security is no longer taken out. So this number only makes sense, like in terms of actually like doing something with it, if it goes over 97,500. It's only there to account for Medicare, or not Medicare. It's only there to account for Social Security. Yeah. But even if you multiply that by 12, that's 37,200. So there's no chance of going over 97,500 even for the whole year. And same for the next one as well. Oh, like a food truck down there? The food truck? Yeah, but it goes around like getting city. Oh, okay. I will, next time I'm down in Bend, I'll have to find out where it's at. Or so for number one, what's the Social Security deduction? $192.20. Good. $192.20 for Social Security. And how about Medicare? Yeah, $44.95. Oops, I already did the dollar sign. $44.95. So if we add those two together, we're going to get $237.15. And it did want all three values. So it wanted Social Security, Medicare, and then the two added together. So those are our values right there for number one. And these are this is per month. So this is just once a month. Yeah, it doesn't say anything about annual or anything like that up here. If it was specific about the time frame, then we would just multiply each of these by 12 to get the annual amounts. Next one. So we're talking weekly this time. So Social Security on this one is going to be 350 times 0.062. Medicare, 350 times 0.0145. And then we'll get a total after that. So, how much in Social Security? $21.70. So it should be quite a bit less than that for the Medicare, because that's only 1.45%. So what is it for Medicare? $5.08. Good. 508. And total? $26.78. Good. And this is weekly. If we wanted annual, we could figure out annual, just multiply by 52. And that's all I got for you today. Nice and quick. So, reminder on this, we've got 2.5 tomorrow. 2.6 is the last one that's coming up on Wednesday, review Thursday, test Friday. No TAT today, but I will have TAT tomorrow. I'm open for lunch in case you want to be here working on stuff during lunch. You don't have to.